That's a little new today. I have this little black box connected to me. Good morning, good morning. And I am very honored to be here today. And wow, I want to start off with everyone having and holding an intention for yourself this morning through this amazing team that shows up every day to do their work, and on Sundays especially, the music team. Thank you so very much. Wow. The team that makes everything light up in the back. The team that cleans and sets up, takes down, and feeds us. Yeah. And to you who show up saying yes to an experience of community. I would like us to spend maybe 30 seconds in holding an intention of what you want to take away with you for this week. Whatever that is, from the inspirational music, to the loving food in your tummy, to the message. So let us go within and hold that intention we want to walk away with. And so it is. As I step up here, I really work on being authentic and vulnerable as much as I can. And when you fall, it's really hard to stand here because you're thinking, oh, how can I be vulnerable? I am supposed to be telling you a message so that you can become stronger, more faithful, more peaceful. But the truth is, this is a journey. A spiritual journey, a human journey, and we fall. And it's really about how we land in community, what holds us, and what doesn't. And what doesn't hold us is judgment. And what doesn't hold us is judgment of ourselves and our fears of not belonging, of not fitting in, etc., etc. And why do I say this in the time where this country and the people in this country are suffering? Our image is gone. We no longer stand in America free, home of the brave, although maybe that's not true. I would like to read something from Brene Brown about vulnerability, about how we hold ourselves, our lives. I know for so long in this last year, I have thought to myself, yeah, don't watch so much news. Don't get all irate and upset. And I remember last January when I spoke at the 418, it was one incident of ICE in this community that shocked me. And now, again, another death, another violation of our constitutional rights. Why is that spiritual? Because we cannot have the finite material world without the infinite spiritual essence which makes it work. Yes. We cannot have that. We are in a spiritual crisis along with a constitutional crisis and a moral crisis on humanity that is a pattern in this country and all over this world. It is a crisis. No longer can we say, I just don't want to look at it and go about our daily work. Why? Why can't we do that? I'll tell you why. Being vulnerable is the most courageous thing you can do. That's right. Why? Because you cannot control the outcome when you're vulnerable. When you risk in a relation to love someone, when you risk having a child, when you risk doing something that people might not agree with, vulnerability takes courage because you can't control it. everything that's important in our lives. It's not by hollowed images of what looks good, what we're supposed to do. You know, when people decide they've been hurt too much, they stop being vulnerable. And guess what happens? They lose connection to the very thing we or they want more than anything else, which is love and belonging. But when you're vulnerable and when you fall in front of people and you feel whatever that feeling is, respect, loss, betrayal, you have to get back up. You have to risk it, knowing that it's part of the process. And so I stand here telling you, the last couple of weeks, I had a faith that felt like it was in crisis. I watched this movie called Conclave. It was about the process of someone, of all the cardinals, choosing a pope. Great movie, I suggest it very highly. And as I was watching these cardinals and all their political stuff, this one cardinal was having a crisis of faith about prayer when he saw all the suffering in the world. And I said to myself, oh my God, this guy dedicated his whole life, his whole entire adult life, not to marry, not to fall in love, but to sacrifice for his faith. And what was it in return? He was having a crisis in faith for the pain and the suffering that he continued to see. And why did his God forsake him? This is about a spiritual crisis. And it starts in here. We don't have a brain. We have a mind that allows the brain to function, just as it allows our arms to move and our fingers to move and our vocal cords to work. There is an invisible essence that is at the core of our existence. That's what all faiths are made of. That knowing. We have examples in history of how people overcame the scrutiny of fascism, of negative, evil things. Look, Nelson Mandela, against apartheid, stood and spoke until he was incarcerated in his home for 25 years. That is why this building we stand in is erected. To remember the examples of the people who stood nonviolently in their spiritual shoes. And they walked the spiritual path. And nobody said there wasn't going to be a crisis. Nobody said you weren't going to fall on your face. He was incarcerated for 25 years. Yes, it was house arrest, but can you imagine? But it worked. It worked. It ended apartheid. We see that example. Mahatma Gandhi, one of my favorite leaders, he said that as the people of India who had no money, no arms, no guns, were willing to stand in front of those soldiers line by line and were beaten down by the soldiers. As soon as they fell, their comrades took them off to the side. The next group of people stood. They beat them down. Their comrades took them on the side until the soldiers were crying because there was no defense. They stood there in their truth, in their spiritual truth. They did it economically with the salt. Gandhi called this the soul force. Make no mistake that we are in a spiritual crisis, and that my work and your work is to do it at the micro level, okay? That is our work. That is with our friends, our family, and our own inner mind that can take us down rabbit holes that are hard to get out of, because we can judge ourselves just as harshly as we judge someone else. Michael Santa Cruz was just reminding me of the other person who was illegally murdered by ICE yesterday. Our Constitution, things we value, there's spiritual values in that, and rights. So where do we go from here? We have examples. We have people who stood, who showed us that, yes, ordinary people and the collective consciousness. And I have to say this, where is our responsibility? Okay? I'll tell you where I think it is. I could look at my own consciousness too. How many of us just took for granted what we had? Were we really adamant about teaching our children about human rights, about humanity, about how we should be treating our brothers and sisters, how we should be treating, and what in the world with these hollowed images of capitalism that you could just make more and more and more and more and more until there's never enough, while taking from others, raping the planet, harming all the sentient beings. We got lost as a collective. We got lost. Think about what we all struggle for, the image of success, to look good, to not falter. Oh, over there, they've got it together. Why don't I have that? Instead of going within to a place that says the hollowed images are not it. It's the qualities of God we want to find, of love, of belonging, of compassion, of helping one another get up when we fall. When I was in my rabbit hole the last couple weeks, I was feeling things like not enoughness, some shame, and I could not understand why I couldn't climb out. And then I realized I was holding a lot. If you don't think that this affects our children, you're wrong. My 11-and-a-half-year-old nephew tried to commit suicide from bullying. My 22-year-old niece, other side of the family, tried to commit suicide 6 weeks ago. And she was on a ventilator. So I'm holding my families. I'm having personal, relationships going a wire. And I'm holding all this, and I'm falling. And the things that saved me were when the best thing I got out of my marriage, by the way, 40 years ago, was his family. And they came to church with me last Sunday. And the grandparents are atheists, and et cetera, et cetera. But one of my nephews said to me, "You make a difference in my life. How you treat me, what you showed me all these years, you make a difference." And I was like, wow. And one of the other nephews said, I'm in this program. He's in this program called SOAR that he does. He's in college in the Bay Area. And Berkeley has, for foster kids, this program called SOAR. And he said, because of something you said, I started looking at life a little differently. He goes, I've been volunteering for the second year now in this program called SOAR for foster kids. And he goes, this one kid was so unruly, nobody liked him, nobody wanted to hang with him, nobody wanted to work with him. And he said, I decided to take him on. He goes, because someone like you talked to me, listened to me, made me feel like I belonged, that I had something to give. And he goes, and I found a camera. And in this camera, he goes, I started taking pictures last year and integrating my pictures and showing the other kids. And he goes, so this year, I decided I would spend some time with a kid who was called Trouble. If you can imagine being a foster kid that is going from home to home, no place to land, and someone who's 19 years old and you're 15 years old comes and puts their arm around you and says, hey, you want to, he said, I want to learn the camera like you. He goes, great, I'll show it to you. I'll show you and teach you about what I've learned, about light, about shadows. Isn't that what life's about? Light and shadows. And so guess what? That young man transformed before his eyes. Something went on. He started asking questions. He started taking pictures. He loaned him the camera. And at the end, he could articulate that he found something he loved and something he could do, something that made him feel connected. And the other day, it was a miracle. The other day I was sitting in a restaurant with Chaplain Cheryl, and I looked up and I saw this picture of this tree trunk that was twisted and looked almost dead, but I saw this incredible beauty. And then next to it was this other picture of rain coming down, all in black and white. And it was our Chad here. And his art, his photography. And I go, wow. And then, back when, I went to the drugstore, and I was looking at the new calendars for the day. Beautiful pictures of the areas of Santa Cruz and Monterey. I go, God, this person's good. It's Michael Santa Cruz. We have people finding gifts and beauty everywhere. Not to mention one of our practitioners, Sky, who's a kick-ass artist right over here. We have so much talent. And this 19-year-old supported this 15-year-old in finding beauty. Why did I share that? What does that have to do with the crisis? It has everything to do with the crisis. We still have to find our expressions, our gifts, and beauty in this world. But you, everyone here has a responsibility to be awake. And as Gandhi said, against all those guns, they had soul force. As spiritual warriors, they had soul force, which means they won against the richest at the time military without violence. We are here not just to protest, but the way we protest is to work on our personal judgments, and when we fall, we don't judge. We help people have a soft landing. Because I believe those ICE people are drunk on ideology, drunk on some falsehood that they're better than, and that some people are human and some people aren't. That is not true. But you know what? We can't get them to change through ideology. We can only get them through compassion and soul force, which is our spiritual guidance for everyone we meet to share a piece of peace, a piece of understanding, a piece of compassion. Even the most vile actions that are being taken, I'm not saying we do not condone them. We have social justice. That's why we are here. but we have to hold it with compassion, including ourselves. And that may sound like a simple thing, but I don't find it easy sometimes. Because I think we're afraid of abandonment, of not being loved, of not fitting in, all those things we learned on the playground. But the best currency in the world is the currency of connection to our humanness. That can melt money, wars, evil intents. In each moment, we strive to become a more compassionate place to land for others and ourselves through our gifts, through our words, because you never know where your words, where your heart space, where your compassion will land to save a soul. So I stand here telling you right here and right now that we are standing in soul force. Soul force. Soul force. Forgiveness and grace is our first two words for ourselves and for anyone else. Forgiveness and grace still holds people accountable, but we don't fight them here. We fight them here. Namaste. Thank you, thank you. And as we go in, we know one thing, that there is a power and a presence in this universe that you and I are of. This incredible knowing that this essence is never, ever born and never, ever dies. It is the existence of life itself, which even in science says it's infinite, ongoing, and the mystery of love and compassion. Holding ourselves in a place that says it's okay to fall. It's okay to get back up and hold someone. It's okay. This pain is conquered through love, because every prayer is a prayer for connection to its source. The only prayer that ever needs praying is for the sense of separation to be healed, for we never, ever can be separated from our source. We eliminate the idea that if we can't see it and touch it, it's not real. For the very thing that we're seeing and touching comes from the energy and the consciousness of life itself. Wow, this journey is exciting. We're responsible at the collective, which means we're responsible at the individuation of who we are. That is our journey. May we all be blessed today. May we all hold our arms and hands out for that soul force that can melt any material weapon in our way. And so it is. Thank you.